500 million people watch them get hitched, but how much does the public really know about Andrew and Fergie?
In 2026, the name Prince Andrew returned to major headlines. New documents connected to the network of Jeffrey Epstein continued to surface. Media pressure quickly intensified again. Old questions resurfaced. During this time, Sarah Ferguson stood firmly by Andrew's side. She said he remained a good father and that their family was still united. But her public support only pulled both of them deeper into another wave of criticism. Few people remember that their story began very differently. In 1986, Sarah Ferguson married Prince Andrew at Westminster Abbey in front of more than 500 million viewers worldwide. She became the Duchess of York. The public quickly warmed to her because of her direct personality, loud laughter, and approachable energy. But over time, the story changed. What began as a royal wedding watched by the entire world slowly turned into a life marked by decades of scandals. It did not happen overnight. It did not come from a single mistake. Instead, it unfolded across many years, shaped by pressure, controversy, and difficult choices. The first cracks, marriage scandal, and the collapse of the fairy tale. Soon after the wedding, the reality of life between Sarah Ferguson and Prince Andrew looked very different from the image the public had seen. Andrew continued serving in the Royal Navy. His assignments often kept him away from home for long periods. Some years, he was absent for nearly 40 weeks. During that time, Sarah stayed in Britain raising two young daughters, Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie, while living under constant media attention. Tabloid newspapers began targeting her almost immediately. After the births of her daughters, Sarah gained weight. At one point, she reached around 220 pounds. Several British tabloids began calling her Fat Fergie. The nickname appeared repeatedly in headlines. Photographers followed her on holidays, outside restaurants, and even during family outings. The pressure grew stronger each year. By the early 1990s, rumors about problems in the marriage were already circulating. Andrew's long absences created distance between them. Sarah was often photographed vacationing with friends while Andrew was deployed at sea. Then, in August 1992, one photograph changed everything. A British tabloid, the Daily Mirror, published pictures taken during a private vacation in Saint-Tropez. In the photos, Sarah was sunbathing topless beside an American businessman named John Bryan. One image showed Bryan appearing to kiss or suck Sarah's toes while she lay on a lounge chair. The photographs spread across the world within hours. The scandal quickly became known as the toe-sucking scandal. It dominated British newspapers for days. Television programs discussed it repeatedly. The images severely damaged Sarah's public reputation. Inside the royal family, the reaction was immediate. Elizabeth II was reportedly furious. Prince Philip was said to be deeply embarrassed by the headlines. Princess Margaret allegedly described the situation as one of the most humiliating public moments the family had experienced. The timing made it worse. The year 1992 later became known as the Queen's Annus Horribilis. Multiple royal crises occurred that year, including the collapse of several royal marriages and a major fire at Windsor Castle. Sarah's scandal became one more symbol of the royal family's public struggles. Soon after the photographs appeared, her position within royal life changed dramatically. She was quietly excluded from many official events. Invitations to major royal gatherings became rare. Her public role began to shrink. Sarah attempted to fight back against the press. She filed legal action against some newspapers and eventually received around $84,000 in damages. But the victory did little to repair her public image. The scandal also affected Andrew. Although he was not involved in the incident, the embarrassment spread to him. His reputation inside the monarchy was damaged by association. Yet despite the public humiliation, Andrew and Sarah maintained a surprisingly close personal relationship. By 1996, the marriage officially ended. Their divorce settlement revealed how different Sarah's position had become compared to other royal separations. She received approximately $350,000 and an annual allowance of about $15,000. In contrast, Diana, Princess of Wales, reportedly received a settlement of around $17 million when her marriage to Charles III ended the same year. The difference reflected Sarah's uncertain standing inside the royal system. She remained famous around the world, but her protection inside the monarchy had clearly weakened. The fairy tale marriage that began in 1986 had now collapsed, leaving Sarah Ferguson in a position that would increasingly define her life in the years ahead. A royal figure, but one standing on the margins. After the divorce, financial struggles, and the cash for access scandal. The marriage between Sarah Ferguson and Prince Andrew officially ended in 1996. The divorce immediately changed Sarah's position within the royal world, but she lost the style Her Royal Highness. She remained the Duchess of York, but her role inside the royal structure became limited. Unlike senior working royals, she no longer had a formal salary or a stable public position supported by the monarchy. The financial settlement reflected that difference. Sarah reportedly received around $350,000 and a small yearly allowance. Compared with other royal divorces of the same decade, the amount was relatively modest. At the same time, her public profile remained large, and the expectations surrounding her lifestyle did not disappear. Despite the divorce, Sarah and Andrew continued to maintain a close relationship. For long periods, they lived in the same residence, Royal Lodge, near Windsor. The arrangement was mainly for the stability of their daughters, Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie. The unusual living situation often confused the public, but it showed that their personal bond had not completely broken after the marriage ended. However, Sarah's financial situation slowly became more difficult. During the late 1990s and early 2000s, she tried to rebuild her income through media projects and commercial partnerships. One of her most visible deals was with Weight Watchers, where she publicly documented her weight loss journey. The partnership reportedly earned her about $6 million and temporarily improved her public image. But the income did not last. Several business projects struggled. A company connected to her ventures, Hartmore LLC, eventually collapsed while carrying about $650,000 in debt. By the late 2000s, reports suggested Sarah's total debts had reached nearly $5 million. Friends later said she refused to declare bankruptcy because she felt the step would be humiliating. The financial pressure created a dangerous environment. In 2010, it led to one of the most damaging moments of her post-divorce life. That year, journalists from the British tabloid News of the World secretly arranged a meeting with Sarah while posing as wealthy businessmen. During the conversation, which was recorded on hidden cameras, Sarah appeared to offer access to Prince Andrew in exchange for money. The discussion involved a proposed payment of £500,000. During the meeting, she accepted £40,000 in cash as a deposit. The footage was later released by the newspaper and quickly spread across global media outlets. The incident soon became known as the Cash for Access scandal. Within hours of the story breaking, Sarah issued a public apology. She admitted she had made a serious mistake in judgment. She also said alcohol and financial stress had affected her behavior during the meeting. Prince Andrew publicly denied any knowledge of the arrangement. Even so, the consequences were immediate. Several television opportunities and publishing agreements connected to Sarah quietly disappeared. Some charitable organizations reduced their involvement with her. The scandal reinforced an image that had followed her since the 1990s, that she was a royal figure who often operated without the institutional protection enjoyed by other members of the family. In the years that followed, Sarah continued trying to rebuild her reputation. In 2011, she appeared in a reality television series called Finding Sarah, created with support from Oprah Winfrey. The program documented her attempt to confront personal mistakes and repair her public image. She also worked as a producer on the historical film The Young Victoria in 2009 and continued writing children's books. These projects helped maintain her public presence. But the financial results were limited. Throughout this period, her daughters remained close to her. Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie often appeared publicly with their mother and maintained strong relationships with both parents. Growing up, they were aware that their family occupied a complicated position inside the royal system. By the early 2010s, Sarah Ferguson had settled into a role that observers increasingly described as unusual within the British monarchy. She remained globally recognizable because of her connection to the royal family. Yet, when financial trouble or public scandals appeared, she often faced them largely on her own. The fairy tale world of royal privilege had long faded. What remained was the reality of a public figure trying to navigate fame, debt, and controversy, while standing just outside the center of the institution that had once defined her life. The Epstein shadow, the biggest scandal and a dangerous connection. By the late 1990s, Prince Andrew had begun moving in circles that included wealthy financiers and powerful social figures. One of those figures was Jeffrey Epstein. At first, the connection appeared to be part of Andrew's role promoting British business interests abroad. Epstein was a billionaire investor with contacts across politics, finance, and international elites. Through these social circles, both Andrew and Sarah Ferguson eventually became acquainted with him. For several years, the relationship drew little public attention. That changed after Epstein's first criminal conviction in 2008. The case involved charges related to the sexual exploitation of underage girls in Florida. Epstein pleaded guilty and served time in jail in 2009. Even after that conviction, several high-profile figures continued interacting with him. In 2010, another detail emerged involving Sarah Ferguson. Around that time, Sarah reportedly faced significant financial pressure. According to later reports, Epstein helped pay £15,000 toward a debt she owed. The payment was said to have been arranged through Prince Andrew when the information became public. Sarah released a statement saying she had accepted the money and later returned it. She admitted it had been a serious mistake. However, additional information appeared in the years that followed. Emails later revealed that Sarah had written messages to Epstein in 2011 thanking him for assistance. In one email, she reportedly described him as a supreme friend. In other communications, she allegedly asked for financial help ranging between $50,000 and $100,000. These messages created a contradiction. Publicly, Sarah apologized for poor judgment. Privately, the tone of some emails suggested a friendly relationship. At one point, she also visited Epstein's property in Miami after his release from jail. The visit intensified criticism once it became public. Over time, rumors surrounding the relationship grew more extreme. Some claims circulated online accusing Epstein of attempting to influence members of the royal family through money or favors. One allegation suggested Epstein had attempted to involve royal family connections through social events involving younger women. These claims were widely discussed, but never proven in court. The far more serious crisis came through Prince Andrew himself. In 2015, a woman named Virginia Giuffre publicly accused Andrew of sexual abuse when she was a minor. She claimed the encounters occurred through Epstein's network in the early 2000s. Andrew strongly denied the allegations. The accusations triggered years of legal battles and intense media scrutiny. In 2019, Andrew gave a widely criticized television interview defending himself. The interview damaged his reputation further and led to his withdrawal from official royal duties. The legal conflict finally ended in 2022 when Andrew reached a civil settlement with Virginia Giuffre. The agreement reportedly involved a large financial payment. Though the exact amount was not publicly confirmed, the settlement did not include an admission of guilt. But the damage to Andrew's public standing was severe. In the years that followed, the consequences continued to grow. By 2025, Andrew had effectively lost his remaining honorary military titles and official royal roles. His presence within the royal institution became increasingly limited. Throughout this period, Sarah Ferguson remained one of his most consistent defenders. She repeatedly stated in interviews that Andrew was a good man and a devoted father to their daughters. She also emphasized that the family remained united despite the controversy. But that loyalty carried a cost. Every new development in the Epstein case pulled Sarah back into the same narrative. Her earlier emails and financial interactions with Epstein resurfaced repeatedly in media coverage, even though she had apologized years earlier. The association continued to shadow her reputation. For many observers, the Epstein connection illustrated the dangers of life as a royal on the margins. Andrew and Sarah remained globally recognizable because of their royal titles. That visibility attracted powerful and wealthy individuals who wanted access to the prestige of the monarchy. But once scandals erupted, they did not receive the same level of institutional protection that senior working royals enjoyed. The result was a long period of public isolation. At the same time, Sarah faced serious personal health challenges. In 2023, she was diagnosed with breast cancer and underwent an 8-hour surgery. The following year, doctors diagnosed her with melanoma, a form of skin cancer. Her health struggles generated sympathy from the public and media. Yet the Epstein scandal continued to overshadow those moments. By 2026, reports suggested further financial and personal strain. Discussions about Andrew's long-term residence at Royal Lodge intensified, and speculation grew about whether the couple might eventually need to leave the property. For Sarah Ferguson and Prince Andrew, the Epstein connection had become the most damaging chapter of their public lives. What began decades earlier as social contact with a wealthy financier eventually evolved into a global scandal that reshaped their reputations. It pushed them even further from the center of royal life. And, by the mid-2020s, the couple who once stood at the center of a royal fairy tale now occupied a far different position, famous across the world, but increasingly isolated from the institution that had once defined them. The 2026 crisis, Andrew's arrest, and total isolation. By 2026, the long chain of scandals surrounding Prince Andrew and Sarah Ferguson reached its most serious moment. In January 2026, new materials connected to the network of Jeffrey Epstein were released as part of a new wave of document disclosures, often referred to in the media as the Epstein Files. The documents revived global attention on figures previously linked to Epstein's social circle. Only weeks later, the situation escalated. On February 19, 2026, the day of his 66th birthday, Prince Andrew was briefly detained by authorities for questioning related to allegations described as public misconduct connected to the broader Epstein investigation. Reports indicated that investigators collected fingerprints and DNA samples during the process. Although the legal process was still developing, the symbolism was powerful. For the first time, a son of Elizabeth II faced such a direct public legal confrontation connected to the Epstein case. The news spread quickly across global media, inside the royal family. The response was cautious and distant. Under the reign of Charles III, Andrew's public role had already been reduced significantly in the years before. By 2025, he had lost most of his honorary military roles and official duties. The events of 2026 deepened that separation. At the same time, Sarah Ferguson appeared to withdraw almost completely from public life. After appearing briefly during the Christmas season of 2025, she stopped attending most public events. Reports suggested she spent time outside the United Kingdom. including stays in Switzerland and the United Arab Emirates. One location mentioned in several reports was the Paracelsus Recovery Clinic in Switzerland, a private facility known for treating stress, addiction, and emotional exhaustion among high-profile clients. People close to Sarah described her as emotionally overwhelmed. The financial consequences also intensified around the same period. A major publishing proposal for a new memoir reportedly collapsed. The project had been discussed as a possible £1, $5 million book deal, but publishers ultimately withdrew amid renewed controversy. Meanwhile, several companies connected to Sarah's business activities struggled to survive. At one point, she was listed as director or key figure in 6 small companies connected to public relations and retail ventures. As media pressure increased, many of those businesses closed or became inactive. Without stable leadership and with sponsors distancing themselves, the ventures could not continue. Rumors also circulated about her living situation. Some reports suggested she had temporarily stayed with friends while traveling abroad, fueling tabloid speculation that she had effectively become homeless. Other sources insisted she still maintained access to residences connected to family and friends. Regardless of the exact details, the broader picture was clear. The couple who had once lived at the center of royal ceremonies now found themselves largely isolated from the institution that once defined their lives. The situation also affected their daughters. Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie had spent years navigating the complicated legacy of their parents' public scandals. Observers often described the emotional burden they carried as a form of intergenerational trauma, created by decades of public scrutiny. Throughout this period, Sarah considered writing a full memoir explaining her experiences at different times. Publishers encouraged a tell-all autobiography that could reveal private details about royal life and the Epstein controversy. In the end, she reportedly abandoned the idea. Friends said she feared the book would create new damage for her daughters and deepen the conflict with the royal family. By the middle of 2026, the transformation was striking. 4 decades earlier, Sarah Ferguson had entered the royal family during a wedding watched by hundreds of millions of people. The image was one of celebration, optimism, and royal tradition. Now, after years of scandals, financial struggles, and the shadow of the Epstein case, that fairy tale story had reached a starkly different point for Sarah Ferguson and Prince Andrew. Fame had not disappeared, but the protection that once came with royal status had largely faded, leaving them standing further from the center of royal life than ever before. Conclusion: the lesson of the royal on the margins. The story of Sarah Ferguson and Prince Andrew spans 4 decades. It began with a global spectacle in 1986. Their wedding at Westminster Abbey was watched by more than 500 million people. At that moment, the couple appeared to represent a modern royal fairy tale. But the decades that followed unfolded very differently. Their marriage collapsed under pressure from long separations and intense tabloid scrutiny. The scandal of 1992 damaged Sarah's public image and weakened her position within the monarchy. After the divorce in 1996, she faced financial struggles while trying to rebuild her life outside the royal system. The problems did not end there. Debt, failed business ventures, and the 2010 Cash for Access scandal placed Sarah in an increasingly vulnerable position. At the same time, Prince Andrew's connection to Jeffrey Epstein eventually became the most serious controversy of their lives. The allegations involving Virginia Giuffre and the civil settlement in 2022 permanently damaged Andrew's reputation. By 2026, the consequences had pushed the couple further away from the center of royal life than ever before. Their story illustrates a complicated reality of modern monarchy. Royal status brings extraordinary visibility and global attention, but it does not guarantee lasting protection, especially for those who fall outside the institution's core structure. Tabloid culture also played a powerful role. Media coverage amplified personal mistakes and turned private crises into international spectacle. At the same time, personal history shaped many of the decisions along the way. Sarah herself has spoken about the emotional impact of her mother leaving the family during her childhood, an experience that may have contributed to her search for acceptance and recognition. In this sense, her story contains both accountability and sympathy. Sarah Ferguson demonstrated resilience in several moments. Her public battle with breast cancer in 2023 and melanoma in 2024 drew support from many people. Yet the long sequence of controversies continues to define how history remembers her public life. The experience of the Duke and Duchess of York also reflects a broader shift within the British royal family. In recent years, figures such as Prince Harry and Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, have chosen to step away from official royal duties entirely. Their decision highlighted the tension between global fame and personal autonomy within the monarchy. For Sarah Ferguson and Prince Andrew, the path was different. They remained connected to the royal institution, but gradually moved to its outer edge. Their story is not only about scandal or controversy, it is also about two people navigating fame, public judgment, and personal loyalty over many years. In the end, the journey from the fairy tale wedding of 1986 to the isolation of 2026 reveals a simple lesson. Titles and status can bring recognition, but they cannot replace stability, health, and the support of family. And sometimes, even those who once stood at the center of royalty must learn how to rebuild their lives from the margins.